During certain days, some women experience poor health and mood. How can a woman stabilize hormone levels so as not to freak out? My wife always criticizes me for using such expressions, but I didn't coin them myself. I somehow like these expressions. Maybe my upbringing was off. My wife keeps me in check about this. I am very grateful to her. It's quite simple. In men, the psyche is controlled by the nervous system, not hormonal functions. That's why a man becomes happy and healthy through asceticism practices. There's a song, "Wake up early, just when dawn knocks at the gate. You will see, you will hear the merry drummer take maple sticks in his hands." This is a song about men. It's the male way, vigor, strength, the male way to become healthy, strong, happy. The male way is asceticism practices, getting up early, exercising, dousing oneself with cold water, sleeping on a hard surface, enduring a woman's emotions. Women have another way. It's service in relationships, service in the energy of love, caring for everyone, forgiving, asking for forgiveness. A woman creates stability for herself through her creative potential. Women's health depends on hormones, hormonal strength. They affect mood. She influences her hormones through her mood. How to improve your mood? Forget about yourself and start helping others. A woman is made from the energy of love. What does an unhappy woman look like? One who thinks about being loved. That's an unhappy woman. Let's say she feels that someone might love her and starts thinking, does he love me or not? This is misery. A woman becomes unhappy. She immediately breaks down, cries, she's miserable. Now another scenario. She takes care of the one who loves her and becomes happy. And this shift, to forget about herself and start living for another person, is very challenging for a woman. She really has many reasons not to serve. He hurt me, he doesn't appreciate me, and so on. Plenty of reasons not to serve the other. And there's only one reason to serve, to be happy and healthy. Just one reason. A wise woman switches to serving the energy of love. She forces herself to serve using her willpower. She steps out of the I am offended and unhappy stance. But most women say, Dr. Torsunov, I don't have the strength to switch. Moscow drains me, the underground sucks all the energy out. A woman is a very sensitive creature. She rides the underground once and has no strength left. That's it. Just one ride. You don't even have to do anything else. Just go into the underground and you'll have no strength left. Raise your hand. Who feels this way, ladies? Very sensitive women mostly. So, you need to learn how to ride the underground. Listen to something. Wish everyone happiness in your mind. Smile at people who don't stare at you badly. And turn away from those who stare at you badly. This is the only way a woman can peacefully handle the situation in her body. But in essence, there is only one very important point. If there's no spiritual energy continuously entering the body, no spiritual relationships, then there will be no strength for this shift. As the song goes, from sadness to joy the road is long. From sadness to joy there's miles and miles. In reality, it's just one single step. Just tap into the desire to think of the sublime, of God, of holy people, and this desire inspires the shift. Immediately, you want to live like this, not thinking about yourself. But as soon as we forget about it, sadness immediately piles back on, especially on these days we're talking about. Because on all other days, a woman gives energy, but on these days, she takes it. and therefore she needs help. She should focus more on the spiritual, pray more. We will be answering questions now. We have another 15 minutes. I'm passing a note from a girl whose son was born 2 months ago with a birth defect. He's in intensive care. Only a miracle can help. How can we help the boy? And is it possible to help? How should I act? Just accept everything as God's will? It's not easy to just accept everything as God's will, by the way. Just accepting everything as God's will. It's not possible to just accept it. You need spiritual strength for that. So if someone comes in now and says, "That's it, the lecture is over, I forbid it," I will have to accept that, but I won't be able to accept it immediately. First, there will be a protest inside me. Then I'll start thinking about my mentor, about God. I'll start praying to God. It might help or it might not. It's uncertain. We don't know what lies ahead, what events await. But then inner strength emerges, and understanding arises as to why this is happening. An answer comes straight to the heart. Maybe I got too proud of myself or behaved improperly at the lecture, which led them to consider shutting it down. And then, when a person enters the right frame of mind, everything can change. Very often everything changes, but not always. Sometimes we must learn to accept defeat in life. It is necessary for the development of the intelligence. Often people do not understand that accepting defeat can be even better than winning. Sometimes it happens that you need to accept defeat. There's a song. You have to know that living without losses is impossible. So, sometimes you just need to know that things happen and losses can be very cruel, like the death of a loved one. What to do? It's a test, and I'll tell you now what to do when this happens. People are all connected in their hearts with each other. Deep inside, we have a connection with our relatives. This connection may span several lifetimes, which is why we are so close to each other. And karma acts in such a way that I feel no better than the child lying in intensive care. But feeling bad signifies the volume of work to be done. It doesn't mean I should sit and dwell on how bad I feel now. Suppose someone was told that they must dig a hole. It was shown to them unexpectedly. They were supposed to be doing something else, and suddenly they were told, "Dig here, a water pipe will go through here. Otherwise, your relative will live without water." Well, something like that. It's just an example. You have two options. You can sit next to the shovel and think, "Man, life is tough. What should I do? Everything is so hard. Maybe I shouldn't bother digging at all." And I approach the relative and say, "Listen, I'm really worried about this undug hole, really stressed about all this. Maybe I'll dig it, maybe not. I don't know. Maybe someone else will dig it for you, but I'm really worried about it." And he says, "I thought you were going to dig, but you're just worried." Often we don't even know where to start digging. That's what this question is about. Dr. Torsunov, where do I dig? What should I do? We don't realize that we are connected in the heart, and this sorrow in the heart, this sense of suffering means that I need to do something in my heart. But since we've never worked with ourselves in the heart, never felt complete joy, which we will talk about during the lecture, we therefore don't know what to do. We've never dealt with this inside ourselves. We've never turned a bad mood into a good one. And therefore, we don't know how to deal with someone else's fate. We think it's someone else's fate, but it's really our fate, just coming from the outside. If a person had prayed and felt that perfect joy, the triumph over their fate in their heart, they wouldn't be asking this question. But if the question is being asked, it means the person has never engaged in this. But now, it's the time to start. Right now. You should sit down in front of a holy person's image, or before the name of God, or sacred scripture, start bowing and repeating a prayer, or say, I wish happiness to all, if you hold no particular faith. And think that you are a tiny part of the divine power. I want to serve the light in my life. I want this child to also serve the light. Please, help us to serve you. You decide, Lord, how we can be more useful to you in this body or the next. Please, help us to pass this test. And when you feel peace and strength in your heart, that means everything is happening as it should. Maybe the child needs to leave this body, or maybe this child needs to survive. And you will be providing him the right strength for either outcome. Now you might say, Dr. Torsunov, I just want him to live. But that, I'm sorry to say, is just a whim that needs to be overcome in your heart. We must leave everything to the will of God. There's the will of fate. I fight with fate. I want the child to live, but fate wants him to die. And we might not defeat fate, but if we surrender to the will of God, then another force acts within this situation, a force that will ensure the best outcome for this child and for me. And even if things don't go as I wanted, I will still feel that we have triumphed. So here I see this situation, I feel this child. I feel that the person, obviously a woman, who wrote this note isn't doing what needs to be done. And that's why she doesn't feel victory. She feels fear, despair. I'm starting to do this for her now because, well, that's what needs to be done. That's how we must live. I'm not related to this child, yet I feel this child. It's mentioned here that he has a birth defect. I see something at the bottom of the abdomen. The intestine is also not functioning properly and so on. People should live this way. They shouldn't just live as passive pawns of fate. Every second, every day, a person must learn to fight for their fate by committing to the forces of light. How do you get to feel these forces of light? How do you perceive them? From the standpoint of your culture, your faith. People are born into a specific culture for a reason. They have a connection from their past life. So they must understand that God gave them birth into a certain religious culture. And culture can only be religious. Wearing Swiss watches isn't culture. Showing off, trying to look cool, that's not culture. Culture means a connection to something higher. And a person is born into a specific culture to develop as an individual. They must learn to be a strong person within their culture, the one they were born into. This is what fate expects from us. We still have some time left for questions. Why are all the services at your center so expensive? Good question. Thank you. Super question. Because everything we offer is personalized. And this requires a very large number of people. For example, as many people get treated in our center each month as there are employees. About 60 people are treated each month, and just as many work at the center. It's very, very hard work. It's really tough. You have to gather the bark, dry everything up. There are 400 types of trees across the country. All of this needs to be collected. Stones are very expensive. For example, to clear blue corundum through customs costs 50% of the stone's price. And we have to pay salaries and leave something for further growth. At our center, in fact, there's currently no profit at all. We don't make a profit and we don't even plan to. We're simply developing methods of treatment because this supports our employees and also advances this knowledge. It allows this knowledge to be used in practice to bring benefit. We've also started seriously investing into science because there are people who are hostile towards us. They refuse to accept that such methods exist, and we have to prove it. Therefore, we have now started working seriously in the field of reflexology, and serious reflexologists have taken an interest in us. So soon, there will be an announcement on our website about study participation. We are starting research on stone treatment. And we are recruiting participants for at least 2 areas: vegetative vascular dystonia and bronchial asthma. If you have these conditions, you can participate in our study. This will be published as doctoral research, and the effectiveness of these methods will be proven. We're doing it officially now, because we have all the necessary permissions. So, treatment at our center is expensive because it is tailored. It's very hard to select the right treatment methods for everyone. It takes 5 days just to find the right stone for a person, to see how it works and so on. We offer comprehensive services. We select herbs, diets and so on, a lot of things, including acupuncture, individually for each patient. Please tell me how to solve a financial problem. My finances are in SOS mode. Rather, it's their absence. I can't figure out what I'm doing wrong. We are answering questions while people are still gathering. There are 2 kinds of times in a person's life, although we perceive life as continuous. One period in life is when fate sends hardships, real hardships. The second period is when fate lets up, meaning it's easy to earn money, easy to live. The first scenario is when life gets tough. Now I have a question for you. Which time of life is more important? When there are hardships or when it's easy? When there are hardships, because it develops us as individuals. We move to a different level of consciousness. Therefore, when difficulties come into our life, it is a blessing. But this blessing is always met grudgingly because we want to enjoy life and not take exams. But human life is meant for taking exams. So why do you think you are doing something wrong? You are facing an emergency. This means you will become stronger. Now another question, what can be done to fix it? To fix it, it is necessary to elevate your level of personal development. When a person engages in spiritual practice, they elevate their social status. They develop the right character traits, and this changes their relationships. As relationships change, so do a person's opportunities in life. There are degrading environments, environments made of degraded people. There are environments of sublime people. Sublime people are more inclined to serve, help, and care. They can help find jobs and so on. I recently had a very sublime person treated in my clinic. He came from a holy place from India. He doesn't work at all and never has. He only serves God, and we paid for his entire trip. One might ask, well, perhaps Dr. Torsunov, it's just you? No, it always happens this way. There are people who dedicate themselves entirely to service to others, and fate organizes everything in their lives. The more greed a person has in life, the less likely they are to receive grace or help. Another example, not a saintly one. A woman, I believe from Kazan, told me her story. She has 4 children and no husband. She's had 3 husbands. One passed away, another left. Well, it's just how it is. Something else happened with the 3rd. I don't remember. So, 4 small children, and it's impossible to work because they require all her strength. They are very young. But since she prays to God every day, friends and relatives provide her with complete care and support. She doesn't worry about anything in life, about nothing at all. You might say, well, she's just lucky. No, it's not luck. That's always how fate works. Either a person dedicates themselves to others and then God protects them, or they worry a lot about themselves and nobody else. Then they get the short end of the stick. Let's examine this issue once again. Please advise, how can I solve a financial problem? You see, the person isn't asking me, Dr. Torsunov, what should I do to distract myself from my thoughts about money? I'm tired of constantly thinking about it. I always think about myself, about my existence, like a mouse that constantly runs around hungry. What makes a person different from a mouse? The fact that a person can think about others. They forget about themselves. This is called intelligent existence. And at the moment when they forget about themselves, at that very moment, God hints at how to solve the money problem. Precisely at the moment when they forget about themselves. To forget about oneself, one must pray. One must enter into a relationship with saintly people. Look, there are different states in life. A person is very constrained in their life, in general. Suppose I have a bad relationship with my husband. What does that mean? It means that I am always thinking about how bad things are with my husband. Things are bad with my husband, things are bad with my husband. I'm in a bad mood, so he is also having a bad time with me. It all piles on and on and on until it reaches a certain point. And at this point, the person realizes, if things continue like this, we'll split up. From that moment, they forget the troubles with their spouse and start making amends. It scares a person. She got scared, started serving her husband, and everything turned out fine. Whereas before it was all bad. You're asking how to solve a financial problem. You need to get scared and forget about your money, start caring for everyone, love everyone, and forget that you're not working. You might say, Dr. Torsunov, that's impossible. We still need to eat and all that. It's possible if you fear for your fate or pray well. One of these 2 options. You'll ask, so Dr. Torsunov, will that solve the problem? Will I find a job immediately? Will money start flowing? No. This will give you the opportunity to live normally, peacefully, until your bad karma runs out. How will you live? Someone will provide for you, someone will help, someone will take care of you, because you will be thinking of others, serving everyone, and everyone will take care of you in turn. I recently met a person, a man around 40 years old. I asked him, where do you work? He said, I don't work anywhere. I asked, then what do you do? He said, I pray every day constantly. I said, that's it? He said, that's it. And he doesn't live in a monastery. I asked him, how do you support yourself? He said, I don't have to think about it at all. And although I've been studying this question all my life, I became curious about how he lives. I noticed that this person has a very strong spirit of service. He constantly takes care of someone, and people support him. He has no problems in life at all. People don't need much after all. A corner to live in, to sleep, to eat. Everything else is just our pretensions. We just want more. Because of this, we already work a lot, right? But he doesn't work. He just prays. Well, it's a completely different level of life. You see, he's so calm overall. I look into his eyes and there's calm, purity, and perfect joy there. Perfect joy doesn't depend on whether you have money or not. If a person is properly aligned, they are happy regardless of whether they have money or not. Why do you have no money? Because fate is punishing you. There are two types of people. Some people live their life battling with it every day, while others understand that there are forces controlling their destiny. The people who understand this are more mature. They feel that there are certain processes at play. Some of these more mature people blame, say, a new world order. This is a more mature perception that the world's secret forces control everything. Or that the Freemasons control the whole world, or that there are the ultra-rich, the 40 richest people in the world, and they control everything in this world. And even more mature people know that all of those people are also controlled by someone. Because if they did control everything, there would be no wars. Why is more devastation needed when the whole earth is already covered in blood? They too end up covered in blood as a result. They are not fools. If they are so smart and control everything, why wouldn't they keep everything in paradise, keep everything cool? Why is there a need for a tornado in America? There's no need for a tornado, right? So these people don't control everything. Someone else controls them. So there must be someone even higher up who controls it all, even higher. And so we come to fate. Every person has a certain fate. There are people who live happily amidst severe circumstances that affect everyone. They still live happily despite those circumstances. Now we'll be reading statements from one of these people. We'll see what I'm talking about. And then the person realizes that there are forces creating all these circumstances around me. The Vedas say that these circumstances are created for us so that we learn to live outside of these circumstances. The goal is for us to emerge from the influence of these forces, to step out from under the sway of fate and become more evolved people. For this, we need to tune into spiritual forces. Spiritual forces are a different kind of forces. They are woven from victory, knowledge, happiness, joy, faith, love, regardless of what is happening to us now, of the situation in which we are. And these forces always win. In all situations, they win. They make life smooth, happy, victorious, even against the backdrop of tough trials. This is what I am trying to tell you. Everything else doesn't work. If some astrologer or clairvoyant tells you, splash some liquid there, burn a candle, stomp around, and boom, it will be solved. Don't believe this person. It's deception. Or if they say, give me some money, I'll whisper something and everything will start working for you. Don't believe that either. They're just fooling you, that's all. Maybe it will work because any belief helps. Suppose you go to an astrologer or some clairvoyant and bam, everything starts working for you. Business takes off. Why does it work? Because you believe this person. And if it's her fate to be able to help you, she will help. But at this point, you don't believe in God anymore, but in the psychic. Next time you'll run to her again. This is called self-deception. It sometimes works. The Vedas say that if I want to adopt a certain type of faith and I'm very focused on this, God helps me. There are different types of faith. There's faith in pure goodness, in passion, and in degradation. Faith in pure goodness is faith in God. Faith in passion is faith in people. And faith in degradation is faith in spirits. So, the psychic deals with spirits. Spirits also possess power. For instance, shamanism is a force too. There are shamans who have power. Like in Buryatia, there are shamans. When I was at Lake Baikal, there were many shamans there. They can, for example, concentrate and make a knife stick straight into a tree. Stay there, not fall down. They do possess some power. A friend of mine wrote to me in a letter that he had a kidney stone and needed surgery. But he tried something else first. Went to a mystic in India, and the mystic removed the stone from his kidney using his mystical power. Removed it like in those psychic surgeries in the Philippines, took out the stone. So he says, My kidneys don't hurt anymore. There had been severe pain before. Do you know what we told him in response? It's possible, but you should get an X-ray. There might still be a stone in there because there are two possibilities. Either the psychic really possesses such power, which is possible, or he's just making money by deceiving people. So there are various forces, but one should believe in God, not in forces like shamanism, although it has a certain power. One can heal diseases with tantric practices too, that's a fact. But prayer connected with God acts more purely and strongly because it ties you not to that psychic whom you then become dependent on in life. Dependent. Because faith is the greatest force of destiny. Suppose a psychic heals you and you continue believing in them. Something happens in your life and you're connected to them as if living under hypnosis. But faith in God operates differently. It enlightens a person, gives them knowledge. Everyone believes in something. Some say, I don't believe in anything. That's your faith in nothing. It's impossible to live without belief. Dr. Torsunov, I'm interested in your opinion. Look, this is an interesting logic. A person is asking how to overcome a financial crisis. That's the first question. And then the second question logically follows. I'm interested in your opinion on black magic. Why did the first question give birth to the second? Do you know why? Because it's the easiest way to solve financial problems. Not working on oneself, not praying, not entering a state of perfect joy amidst suffering, but just with a flick of the wrist. What do I think of black magic? I am okay with it. Let's say I have a dog at home and he's very good. When I look at him, he looks at me back like he believes in me infinitely. He trusts me infinitely. We feed him blessed food. We have leftovers and we give them to him. He's a vegetarian. Not because he wants to, but because that's how life is for him. But when the neighbor's dog comes over to eat our sanctified food because he's hungry too, our dog stands next to that dog, trembling and growling with anger. And that's where his humility ends. There are different levels of holiness. Is our dog on one level and black magic on another, or they are on the same level? Meaning it does not give perfect joy. It exists, it might sometimes help, but it's not for intelligent people. It's not for intelligent people to resort to such remedies. Like in the movie Count Cagliostro, there were two assistants from San Remo repairmen. They deceived people, but to each their own. So after 20 years of my life that I have dedicated to lectures and spiritual development, it suddenly occurred to me that many different people from different spiritual traditions visit my lectures. And maybe I should give lectures not only on the Vedas, but perhaps also about the famous and respected people of Russia, who are very dear to my heart, and I think will become dear to yours as well. Such a person is Leo Tolstoy, who was born in 1828. He lived in Yasnaya Polyana in the Tula province and left this world in 1910. We know he wrote many works: War and Peace, Anna Karenina, Childhood, Boyhood, Youth, and so on. It's interesting to know that Although he received many flattering comments during his lifetime about his foundational work, War and Peace, at the end of his life he said that, had he thought it over again, he would never have written it, because happiness is only found in the spiritual. He evolved as a person to such a degree that he started thinking about higher things. And in his later days, he translated such ancient Indian texts as the Tirukural. He turned to ancient wisdom. And one of his collections was actually composed of things that other people have written or said. This is a sign of a perfected personality, one who speaks not from themselves but passes on the wisdom of others. He wrote a piece in which he took the sayings of exalted personalities as the basis for his activities. I felt immense happiness when I came into contact with Leo Tolstoy's writing, and I want to share this with you. We'll simply read something and then I'll share how I understand it. Maybe you'll see it differently. You're also welcome to join in on the discussion, so our lectures will be a bit different. But I think they'll also be useful in addressing our issues. It will be practical. Not just that we'll marvel at the works of this extraordinary individual. By the way, another amazing trait of Leo Tolstoy is that he loved all spiritual traditions. You'll see it in his statements. He didn't single out one as better or worse than the others. He definitely had his own faith. He was a Christian, but he did not see his faith as the only possible one on earth. This is very important because it's a sign of enlightenment, a more evolved understanding of things. God wouldn't make it so that only one nation received knowledge while all others didn't. Why then would all these other nations be born on this earth? The Vedas say that knowledge comes according to our nature. We each have a certain psychophysical constitution, a certain inclination. The Vedas call it bhava, or a particular inclination to love and understand the truth. Based on this inclination, different faiths in God are given to mankind. And accepting this fact is a sign that at least you envy no one, that you regard God's creation very humbly. So, we are discussing the theme of joy, and in this book by Leo Tolstoy, A Calendar of Wisdom, this statement is also at the forefront. I would place it first as well. It's a statement by St. Francis, who was born in 1182 and passed away in 1226. He was a Catholic priest. So now I am reading his writings. He has many wise statements. One winter, Francis was walking with Brother Leo from Perugia. It was so cold that they were shivering from the chill, and Francis called to Brother Leo, who was walking ahead, and said to him, "O Brother Leo, may God help our brothers set an example of holy life throughout the world. But please write down that this is not wherein perfect joy lies." You see, he will now be seeking ever more perfect joy in this communication. And setting an example of holy life, that's no simple thing. For instance, I can definitely say that I am not an example of such a life. If you were to analyze my life now, it would be an example of continuous mistakes. But St. Francis was such an example. That much is clear from his biography, and it brought him joy. When a person lives honestly and purely, it leads to joy. Often we think that living a pure and honest life is difficult and maybe pointless. Take the example of loyalty. Nowadays, people often don't understand why it's even necessary. Often, older men find themselves young girls because only in a young girl is their beauty to be enjoyed. As women age, they lose this power, the energy of enjoyment. But is there something that remains in her or not, in an older woman? If that were the case, everyone would leave. Why do some men not leave their wives as they grow older? What's the reason?
The value accumulates over a lifetime.
Yes, the value accumulates.
From difficult situations that have been overcome together.
You're right, of course. The value of a person. Joy isn't about enjoying a person, but about feeling eternity in them, the soul. A woman is woven from the energy of love, and the older she gets, the purer her love becomes. You see, in a woman's body, love moves from the outside to the inside. It starts outside, then it becomes internal. A young girl, she might not be able to love much, often that's the case. She's simply woven from beauty, and she enjoys her own beauty, and lets others enjoy it too, but with certain conditions. You can enjoy beauty, but you need to meet certain conditions while doing so, right? There's a song. So he doesn't drink, doesn't smoke, always gives flowers, calls his mother-in-law mom, is indifferent to alcohol, and isn't boring in conversation, and so on. Not so many conditions, and please enjoy the beauty, no problem. But as a woman ages, she stops delighting with her beauty. She provides a more profound joy in relationships. Because the energy of love remains, it has changed in quality. It has become purer, more elevated, if a woman leads a righteous life. Because she aspires to the highest in her life, and as a result, she becomes a more valuable person. What's your name? Alexei said it right, more valuable. As the song goes, and everything created with effort is dearer to me. I regret nothing. The foundation is solid. The house is strong. You see, often people think that perfect joy is found in the beauty of a woman's body. And it's true that there is joy in this, and that's why people are happy when there is a beautiful woman nearby. But a more perfect joy is to build a relationship with a woman based on fidelity. This brings more happiness, but not all men know this. And so they choose the joy that is less appealing, gives less happiness, because the joy of pleasure always also brings suffering. That's how this world works. If you enjoy a woman's body, you will suffer just as much from it. As much as you enjoy this body, that much you will suffer from it. Some say, well, Dr. Torsunov, one might argue with that. Well, argue then. But I try to study this world, this life, from the perspective of the sacred scriptures. I see how it works. I'll explain how it works now. When we enjoy a woman, selfishness accumulates in her. How does a woman's selfishness work? It works in one direction. A man enjoys a woman, and a woman, she lives by the man. What does a man live by? A man lives by events in the country and everything. He tries to control everything. And who does a woman control? The man. The more he enjoys her, the more she prides herself towards him, she becomes a queen to him and starts setting her terms for a relationship with him. She sees that she is beautiful and pleases him, so she says, "You know, my dear, you should buy me flowers more often." You see, she sets conditions. Why? Because she's beautiful. Imagine if she's quite unattractive, doesn't please him. Would she say, "You know, my dear, you should buy me flowers more often"? Would she say that? Well, if she's really foolish, she might just say that, and that could end her relationship with her husband, just like that. But a woman says that if she knows. Women are often not foolish because they have a natural ability for relationships. They have an innate property to feel the situation. Women know the situation. And she sees that the situation is such that he looks at her, enchanted by the energy of love that emanates from her. And what happens next? She tells him, "You know, my dear, you should buy me flowers more often." Right? Why? Because that's the nature of a woman. She too exploits this energy of love, but differently. If a man directly through the woman's body, then the woman exploits her beauty energy through the man. So she wants to get married because it's not interesting for her to be beautiful alone. She needs to be beautiful with someone. Don't be born beautiful, but be born happy. That means someone needs to be there to enjoy her beauty. A woman doesn't enjoy the man, but her beauty through him. That's why she wants him to love her. If he doesn't love her, what's the point of living with him? There's no pleasure. Ladies, do you understand what I'm talking about? Thus, the more you enjoy a woman's beauty, the more difficulties arise in life. That's what the song is about. It's not too bad to have 3 wives, much worse from another perspective. That means there will be more difficulties, more beauty, more difficulties. You understand the system, right? But in the perfect joy that Saint Francis talks about, it's the opposite. The more beauty, this pure fidelity, the beauty of fidelity in relationships with a woman, the fewer difficulties in life, the more pure happiness. Therefore, wise people value fidelity higher than the beauty of a young woman's body. Higher, because there is more happiness in such a life. But when someone has lived their whole life this way, they've lived a holy life. That is, they haven't broken vows, these spiritual laws, and these laws are all woven from one thing only. You need to learn to live not for yourself, to give your life to others. Fidelity means to give. Responsibility means to give, only from a male perspective, and so on. For a woman, it's fidelity. For a man, it's responsibility. To learn more on the subject of health and healing of the body, please make sure to read my health guide, available for download on my YouTube channel or on my Instagram page. Thank you very much, and see you soon.